helping us.
I don't know why Tony came in. I told him he got his position somewhere. I told him he got it. Then he said he was just interested.
Okay, we're back in regular session, and I'll let Roger explain what we're gonna vote on.
We came out of, executive session where we discussed collective negotiations under the Taylor Law. Agreement has been reached with the correctional officers. We've already ratified that agreement, so if you wish to ratify the agreement as discussed in executive session, motion to do so would be in order.
Okay, so we need a motion to ratify the contract, and then all the particulars will be mailed to you for the board meeting. For the
Mr. Chairman, so moved.
Thanks, Phil. Seconded by Dave O'Brien and Kathy Fedler. Is there any more discussion on this?
Kelly's out of the room.
Oh.
He was out when you started talking about it.
Yeah, okay.
But he'll be back in just before.
As long as there's still quorum, we're good.
I think if you start talking about
Right.
it, and then somebody
Well, the
leaves
motion
in the
is
middle,
made, you can't leave, but if the motion hasn't been made yet, it's okay.
Right.
I think you can't leave once it's second. Leave before second. But consider, you're right.
Okay, so all in favor of ratifying the contract?
Aye.
Say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Nay. One nay. Okay, thank you. So, next up is, E, and your agenda is to discuss the concept to act as lead agency for Marchicelli Bridge Project. Now, that's when we come back into
Yeah.
that, or?
I let her know that we were
Okay.
back then.
So, while we're waiting for Deb, I'll let Roger explain what being lead agency means, just so we know that.
I think Deb does.
Yes, come right on up. You're the next contestant, but I don't know what game show it is.
Right, right.
It might be whack-a-mole.
My head's already flat.
Sorry, Kathy. Okay, so we're being lead agency, we want to understand that part first on this bridge. What being lead agency actually means.
So, lead agency in the eyes of the DOT means nothing different than any other federal aid project that we do. So, when we do a federal aid project, I, do some paperwork and I bring it here and we get approval and I send it down to the state and they send back what we bring with the, resolution and the Schedule A. So that's when we do the budget amendments and we make a resolution and commit to doing the projects and that. Then, as the bills come in, that allows Al to pay them. So nothing in that respect would change. I asked the state yesterday if there was another way to do it such that it wasn't coming out of the county's coffers, and they said no. Explain that.
If we're in the lead
Question. If we are the lead agency. So basically, it would look as if it were us doing the whole thing. But I do believe that the IDA passed resolutions.
Yes.
That's okay. So, the resolutions would go to the IDA, but I believe the Schedule A would come to the county.
Would cash flow it?
The county would somehow have to figure out how to do that. I think, I haven't had a chance to talk to Al about it because he's away. But I guess it's my understanding there's a number of ways that the county could cash flow it, whether the IDA gives the money up first, or there's a number of different ways to do it.
I was in discussions with the comptroller's office about that. He and I emailed briefly yesterday, and I've got to call into the counsel's office at the comptroller's office so that we can double check on how funds would flow. That's what we can tell you about that at this point.
go ahead, Dana.
Brian, is there still a tax obligation due on that property owned by the IDA down at the dewatering facility?
Yes.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion, we suspend any discussion going further until those tax obligations have been met.
Okay, Dana Hogan's made a motion.
We're gonna discuss it, I'll second it. Let's discuss it.
Okay, second by, in discussion, Dale Brad.
I can tell you that there are no tax obligations on that road.
Oh, that's true too.
It's free and clear, owned by the IDA from 196 is the facility.
Dana Hogan.
It's a conversation of semantics when we're talking about the road versus the property that's owned by the IDA. The county is owed almost $1 million in tax obligation by the IDA at this point. Am I correct in saying that?
Correct.
Under no circumstances should we be entertaining the idea of serving as a lead agency to an organization that owes the county $1 million at this point and shows no evidence of looking to pay that in the near future.
That's quite accurate, but Mr. Haff.
I have a problem with the whole thing too, even going back to the federal grant funding. I don't know, it should be against the law to give funding to somebody, an agency or anything that is delinquent their property tax. That should be like the #1 checkoff box for aid. Are you delinquent? Yes, no, yes, don't go any farther.
Okay.
And this is not a public road. David said, they'll make it open to the public. There's a huge difference between a public road and a road open to the public. Road open to the public, you can close the gate any time you want. A public road is owned by the public, accessed by the public. Deb, how many other Marchicelli projects do we have on the list? If we undertake this, are we limited by how many projects we can have as another project of a public road, a public bridge, in the interest of public safety for the public? Is any of those projects going to take a back seat because we're limited to maybe 2, 3, 4 projects at a time, and we have to wait for this Bailey Bridge to get cleared out before another, a real public road comes on?
So indirectly, yes. So the way the, AGFTC works is when there's a TIF done every 4 years, or every 5 years. And, everybody, we put in our list of wishes. In this particular AGFTC, there is Washington County, Warren County, and a very tiny part of Saratoga County. Everybody gets their first wish. So, Warren County will get their first wish. It's not an official list yet, and we will get ours. And because the IDA put one in, they will get theirs, because it just follows with the first wish. There is one project for Washington County that's not getting funded, because the TIP ran out of money. I don't know as though you can specifically blame it on any one entity, but yes, there is one project that's not getting.
Now, you said the IDA, their wish is #1, but don't we decide if we want to do this or not? It's not mandated that we must do this. All right, so it's not mandated that we must do something on a road that's not a public road. And we're going to get involved as the lead agency for something that is theoretically a private, we always call it a road, but it's not, it's a narrow strip, it's a narrow parcel. I have a problem with that a public bridge on a public road to be repaired or replaced in the interest of public safety would have to take a back seat because we have given preferential treatment to a private authority, entity, whatever you want to call it. So, there's many steps in the future that this will involve, and I think we should look at that and say, don't do it. I'm against us getting involved in anything that is not on a public road.
So, I'd just like to go back to where you started with taking, like, you shouldn't get funding if, you haven't paid your taxes. So I'm kinda gonna go back to where we were a few months ago here when you came in about your school district had a piece of property that got, basically, it's almost the same way. It ended up there, the taxes were owed, they didn't get paid. It wasn't the school's property when they owned it, but they had to pay the taxes, because it was exempt once they owned it. This is kind of the same situation. We
Not
get
really,
this-
the school paid immediately, somebody drove here and paid out.
Not immediately, they were delinquent, was why they had to come
As
here.
soon as they knew, they paid immediately.
Right.
That's not the case here. We have a delinquent taxpayer that has not paid.
But they still weren't their taxes. They took the property and are gonna pay the taxes. So it's a little bit different. And the school got their state aid from the state, whether they paid that or not, and would have, even if they never paid it, they still would have got their state aid. So that's a little iffy on that note. The
Yeah,
second
all of
thing
you
is,
said no to a couple $100 for the Hartford Central School, but I hope you're not gonna say yes to this
so
grand scheme that has many tentacles in
there's a
it.
big picture here, whether we like it, dislike it, and it's fine what everybody's opinion is, I wanna hear them all, I have no problem with that. This has been, as long as I've been here, Bob's been here, this has been a huge issue. Whether we make anything of that down there, we all know it needs a new bridge. Kingsbury certainly doesn't wanna pay for it. We certainly don't want to pay for it. This is an avenue for it to get paid for by the IDA and federal money. That is the biggest issue here. Do the taxes need to be paid? Yes, they do. Are they working on it? Yes, they are. But until they have some concrete, all we can do is blow smoke at you until there's some, we have to have some concrete.
So Brian, why would we put a private bridge on our list in front of a public bridge? Because that other public bridge, whatever's on the list, won't get done because we're only allowed a certain number.
They all get done, it's just what stage and priority they get done.
Well, we don't replace bridges unless they're flagged, and there's a public safety concern.
Oh, no, we replace bridges all the time, not just
Not
because they're
unless,
flagged.
no flags on it, that's a perfectly good bridge, you know.
There's hardly, well, most bridges have flags on them over the years, and we're always fixing them, that's not an unusual thing. But they are all prioritized, and as far as our county's future, and we've had discussions before, everybody wants economic development, but somebody has to invest for that economic development. We have a partner that sometimes we're not always happy with, and therefore that rolls over into it, but they do have money. And a partner without money, there's nobody in our business life that we would go in with without money.
It should be the very first checkbox. Are you delinquent? Yes. No further discussion. Brian, you're talking about, potential future and all this other stuff. I've heard this for years and years. And Dana Hogan is absolutely right. If this entity is delinquent in their taxes, almost up to $1 million, that delinquency should be paid in full before we even consider anything. And
so you would kick everything down the road for your future to worry about the taxes today if they're paid tomorrow.
not the way you say it, but I'm voting no.
Well, no, and I have no problem with that. I wanna hear everyone's opinion on this. I'm just saying that this is a bigger picture that's taken 10 or 15 years to get here.
Can I address
Dave
it?
O'Brien wants to say something.
So I provided Roger and Deb with the communications between DOT and the IDA in taking and inventorying the bridge and putting on the bridge. As part of that email chain, Roger can look at it and time it if he chooses to. His first part of it was open the road for public use. We did open the road for public use. We're also in a position where the town of Fort Edward has committed to taking the balance of the road as soon as it gets the paperwork done. So that will happen this year sometime. So that's in process. What should have been done last year, but ran into the time frame of when the towns could or couldn't take the road. I don't remember the law. That's open to public opinion, so it's public use. I also want to point to the research that Deb did out of highway law in New York State. One of the decisions in Highway Law 2 is number 5. It is not the amount of travel on a highway which distinguishes it as a public instead of a private road. A private road may have a larger amount. It is a right to travel upon it by all the world, and not the exercise of right which makes it a public highway. A public highway to which the public has not the right of access would be an impossible creation. So that's out of New York State law. We have a commitment from the IDA to make DOT, and DOT recognize that as public use. So let's just take that out of the equation. The discussion isn't about that. It is by law a public road. There's further definitions. It says a public road means a road owned and or operated by a governmental entity, which the IDA is, who has accepted ownership of the road through a formal action of its governing board, which is it. So let's put that to bed. By law, and Roger can chime in, if you've seen the same information, he's done some other research, coming right out of highway law, too.
Yes,
Hey, Dana Hogan's had his hand up multiple times for quite a while, so he can go ahead of me and
Okay.
then I'll
No,
answer
I
him.
already spoke, Cassie. I'll wait for you. Thank you, though.
I want to know, I just would like clarification. If the IDA is a government entity and it can apply for the TIP funds, why can't they be lead agency? Why does it have to come back for the county to step up and have to put the money ahead? I mean, maybe there's a law, but why?
go ahead, Deb.
So the IDA can be the lead agency, when they put in for their projects. They would hire a consultant to do the design, just like we would do, and a contractor to do the construction. Dave did research and found out that if he does that, he does not get Marchicelli aid, and I believe that's why he's wanting us to be the lead agency.
Dana Hogan?
So just a couple things I want to point out. I do find it troubling that IDA members can vote on both sides of this thing. Brian, you're speaking on behalf of the IDA, I think, every time you open your mouth about this topic lately. And Dave is obviously speaking on behalf of the IDA as well. So
I'm
one
on
of
the
the things,
county behalf.
Brian, please don't interrupt me, man, because that's what you do. You don't like what I'm saying, you just interrupt me. So don't interrupt me. But point of clarification, we are discussing the merits of my motion to suspend any discussion until the taxes are paid. They have not yet been paid. So until they're paid, why are we having any discussion related to assisting the IDA with any of this matter?
I agree.
So who are you asking? You want me to answer or no?
Yeah, you're allowed to answer now, Brian. Go ahead.
Okay. I was speaking on behalf of the county because this is where our biggest opportunity is in economic development. The states recognize it, the federal government's recognized it. It's an opportunity zone, and there's a lot of funding to go there. It's also one of our towns that has actually lost the most in assessment over the last 15 years. This is our chance to get that assessment back and help the county in full. And if you think that's an IDA process that I'm coming from, I think you've misjudged it. I only look at this from the county aspect. As far as the IDA, the county could have done this on their own. It is more feasible, cheaper, and they have more opportunities than the county to do it. So the county has more to gain by going through the IDA. And for some reason, which I appreciate it, Warren County seems to be more open and interested in this happening than our own county, which I think they understand the regionalization and everything that's going on here and what's actually there and the value. Does the IDA need to pay the taxes? Absolutely, they need to pay the
When is
taxes.
that bill going to get paid, Brian? When are you going to pay that bill?
Answer that question as the chair of the IDA.
I'll let Dave answer
Go
that.
ahead. Let's hear the promise.
There are several people on this call that participate in TDI negotiations. One of the provisions of TDI negotiations is that IDA will receive $2.7 million as soon as their construction financing is completed.
It'll be foreclosed upon before that happens, Dave.
You cut him off.
Dana, let me finish. Construction financing is supposed to be completed on June 30th. And at that point, the entire board of the IDA is committed to paying this bill out of that.
That's another promise. Great.
We're not asking for any forgiveness, any money, anything. In terms of reduction of amount due, which was the Hartford issue, we're not asking for any reduction. We've accepted that commitment. We've made a commitment that we will pay that bill as soon as the financing come in. If the county.
Great. Let's have the discussion after that bill's been paid.
Couple clarification points. From the DPW minutes, the DPW superintendent stated that there's a lot of paperwork involved with a federal aid project, and Mr. Frankenfeld does not want somebody that's not familiar with the federal aid process to do the project because it can go badly quickly. And it'd be better for AGFTC if the county was the lead agency. That's why they're asking us to do it. That's one of the reasons that's.
Yep.
Right. Number two, if it is a public road, does it extend all the way to 196?
Well, it extends all the way to the town highway.
No, does it extend to 196?
Checks are ready,
Okay,
and when I go to lunch, I'll just lock everything up. Eva's out again today,
okay.
okay?
I
All right.
will stop down and sign them later on today.
Yeah.
Okay.
Does the public aspect of it extend to 196?
It does, but I think it's a town road that it goes on to.
I'm sorry, Newton Lane, yes.
That's my belief. Am I right on that, Dana?
Yes, my understanding is Newton Lane is a town. We manage it.
And it connects right to.
And that connects to 196. Yes.
Just want to get two points of clarification first. We're doing this as a favor to them, basically, that's what we're saying. We're doing it as a favor to them. They could do it on their own. But.
There would be no Marchicelli funding and all that. This is the cheapest and
We're doing
most
it
economical
For the
way.
IDA, for the IDA.
For the county.
For the county.
No, because if the county took the bridge and wanted to do it, it would cost you.
That's an input that we're not discussing.
No,
We're
I'm
not
just
discussing
saying that, so it's still the most economical way for the county. If the county were to do it, it's the most economical way. If the IDA does it, it's actually more economical because the IDA will pay
If
the
we
actual
stepped
5%.
away from it, it's most economical for us, because it doesn't cost us any cash flow, it doesn't cost us any time for Deb, any time for Al. That's the most economical way to do it for the county. It's not for the IDA.
Well, no, but it pushes development.
If there's a timetable here, Deb, the question's coming to Deb. If, in fact, they get the money from TDI, I will gladly pay you Tuesday for a hamburger today. If they do get the money from TDI on June 30th, and they pay it on July 5th, what's the holdup, what's the problem, what's the issue?
Another year.
Can we still do it then?
It's
I'm not asking you guys, I'm asking Deb.
I want to correct the timing.
You said June 30th.
June 30th is supposed to close the construction financing. It will be paid within 30 to 60 days.
Boy, Dave, you are tricky. And you know,
It's
you're
coming.
supposed to wear your county hat here, not the opaque. So Deb, we have to figure out if it's paid 30 to 60 days after that. So that could be anywhere August 1st to September 1st. And then we say, we'll be the lead agency. What kind of wrench does that throw into the timetable or any other issues that we need to discuss?
So next week on Wednesday, I think Aaron is hoping to finalize who gets what projects, but I don't think that changes anything on lead agency.
So Dana's point, if we did pass this resolution, wouldn't really have an impact on when that bridge and the lead agency and all that stuff gets done.
Right. The fiscal year for the TIP starts October 1st.
That makes it.
Pay the tax bill. We'll talk then.
I guess my question to Deb then is, but AGTSC isn't gonna put it forward if they don't know.
We don't have to be the lead agency for the bridge to be done. We have to be the lead agency for the IDA to get the Marchicelli funds.
Right.
So, I believe that if the IDA does not have us for the lead agency, they would hire a consultant, just like we do, and that consultant would know the federal aid process. They would have to do the consultant off of our list of, LDSA. IDSA consultants because they've proven that they can do that project, these projects. They're familiar with the process.
But by not qualifying for Marchicelli, so there's no funding coming back, the bridge would cost.
The bridge, the IDA would be responsible for 20% of the project versus 5%.
Yeah, so it's 50% more cost.
It's quite an incentive to pay the taxes, isn't it?
But
Pay taxes.
but why would AGTFC go forward? That's what I wanna know. I don't think they would go forward with this bridge if they don't know who's gonna be the lead agency.
They don't know who's gonna be the lead agency when we do the whole, well, I mean, it's implied that we are the lead agency for our own project.
Right.
But I'm pretty sure, I mean, I'm 99.9% sure that if the IGA has a project on there and they hire a reputable consultant off the LTSA list, that is, good for AGFTC.
There was compensation as part of this deal. Part of this information was Beth had requested in exchange for her doing the work, is that we would give the baby bridge to the county as part of the compensation.
Is that where we're at now?
We're at in the county.
No, I meant, that's where we were with DPW meeting, right?
So, yes, so when we put our list of asks into the AGFTC, it had whatever, it had these projects on it. When we did all our homework, we don't own the bridge, the IDA put it on as theirs, it gave a certain amount of value to our program, a certain amount to Warren County's program. In that, we were not able to do one of our bridges. So when the IDA found out about the Marchicelli, I started thinking, and that's when I said, well, perhaps if we could get that temporary bridge, put it on the Whitehall Bridge, that would lower the cost of the Whitehall Bridge, and we would be able to probably, more than likely, fund the last bridge on our one. So that was my thought process. That was why.
So it is quite beneficial to the county in that way, then.
That was my thought process.
Dave Scully.
I had two questions. A matter of timing, Deb. If we wait until the tax bill is paid, can we still become the lead agency and get the Marchicelli fund for the IDA? I mean, what's the timing on that? So,
The federal fiscal year starts October 1st, so, we can't do any work on any of these projects until October.
so we would have time if tax bill got paid before October 1st to take lead agency and still get Marchicelli funds for this project.
If Al finds out that we can do that.
The other question, and you talked about it to me on the phone, you were gonna check, see if any other counties have done IDA projects, right? Did you?
Lead agency first.
No, I didn't.
Okay, okay.
Hicks.
So I have two questions, again, from the minutes, the DPW superintendent stated they need to do something as soon as possible to address the Whitehall Bridge. Wouldn't you want to have that be our project and get that done as soon as possible? Because with the other scenario, with the Maybe Bridge, you'd have to wait till IDA gets all their stuff set, all their engineering, all their specs, then get ready to build that bridge before you can take out the Maybe Bridge. Wouldn't that take longer than for us to jump right into Whitehall as soon as we possibly can?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Second question is, there's an if here. There's a cascade here. If this happens, and this happens, and this will happen, then that'll happen. What if one of those ifs falls apart, and it gets to August, and the taxes aren't paid, and the finance committee votes, all the delinquent parcels go to auction. It gets to October, they're not paid. Those parcels, if whatever, go to auction. They could be purchased by somebody else. They could be purchased by a private entity. So then we could potentially be the lead agency on putting in a bridge on a road that leads to two private parcels. Right? wanna make sure that's clear. Which would be.
Because there's a lot of private parcels there already.
It's less, I mean,
What's the count for?
Yeah. So Deb basically made the decision on the economics to the county, and that's where my thought process was, the economics to the county. He gets one more bridge for less money.
I'll go against that.
Well,
If we put a $4.5 million bridge in Whitehall, at 5%, it's $225,000. You're gonna tell me that the removal of that Bailey Bridge, the transportation of that Bailey Bridge, the engineering, the specifications, and the installation of that Bailey Bridge in Whitehall is gonna cost less than $225,000.
I understood we were getting one less bridge if we didn't do it that way.
So there is a cost to moving the bridge. We're working on that with ACRO just to see, because regardless of anything that happens here, something has to be done on the Whitehall Bridge.
So there was another bridge involved. You said that if you did it this way, the other bridge would get taken care of. So I think that other bridge is a piece of this too.
So,
Like, Matt's question to be answered. I was hoping, but you like segue completely off Matt's question. About the cost of the county to get the bridge removed, get the bridge moved, and get the bridge reinstalled in Whitehall, I believe would cost more than $225,000, which is our 5%, or $4.5 million of the Whitehall
So I was
bridge.
trying to say, I was what's the price of the other bridge?
Then it is not economical, and your premise is completely irrelevant. That's my question.
Really, if we get an extra bridge? That was my point, was what does the other bridge cost? I was trying to see I thought that's where the funding was.
The other bridge would come next. She said the Whitehall Bridge needs to say, something to be done as soon as possible. That's the key, the number one.
Under this scenario, another bridge fit under Marcicelli. That was the key to me, was there was another bridge that was gonna be paid for. That's what I asked, what it was comparatively.
The Whitehall Bridge isn't funded, correct?
Right.
We don't have funding coming in for the Whitehall Bridge if we.
Right, there was another bridge that would be funded if you used this one for Whitehall, was what you.
well, the Whitehall Bridge would still be funded. We would
Yes.
still put new,
Our funding or federal funding?
federal funding. Still would be funded. But something needs to be done in Whitehall sooner than later. So the timeline is not working out the way I hoped it would.
What was the chances of the county using Marcelli's grant for Whitehall Bridge as the result of the grant for the IDA? Take away, we'll take that bridge from IDA and move it to Whitehall. What would be the chances between the IDA and that bridge and Whitehall and the bridge, the Marcelli grants getting accepted?
So as it stands now, our first ask is from the leftover tip last time, and that is the Baton Dugan Bridge that we were speaking about before. And our second ask is the Whitehall Bridge.
And now if we do the IDA, where would that fall in those two? That would be the third, or would that move that to the first?
That is their first. Just because we're lead agency doesn't mean we have anything that is.
So that would jump them, the chances of them getting it are 100% better than we would for the little Whitehall.
We are still getting the Whitehall Bridge, fully funded, if they get their bridge.
The Putnam Bridge, is that the one that we were getting extra, or am I wrong?
The Putnam Bridge is the one that doesn't fit onto the tip.
But it would fit if we did it this way, or am I wrong on that? That's what you just said.
It would fit I believe it would fit if we did it this way. I did say I don't know how much it's gonna cost to move the bridge.
That was my point, there was another bridge involved, and I don't know what that price is. I was just trying to substantiate that.
Deb, I know this is just an estimate, so I can't hold you to it, it's just an estimate. How much time would it take if you were to say we will replace, repair, whatever, the Whitehall Bridge now, or get the process going now? How much would that take? A year, 2 years? How much time would it take if you used the Bailey Bridge to go to Whitehall? Would that bridge end up in Whitehall 3, 4, 5 years from now? What is the gap in time?
It would take less time to leave the Bailey Bridge out of the replacement of the Whitehall Bridge.
But we're talking years, right?
Yes.
So if the deal went through and you got the Bailey Bridge and you rehabilitated that and transported that up to Whitehall, would Whitehall be maybe looking at that bridge up there in 5 years?
I would say the delay would be at least 2 to 3 years.
And if you were to not consider the Bailey Bridge for Whitehall and just do it on our own like we normally would, how much time is that? 2 to 3 years shorter, right?
Yes.
All right. That's a lot of time if you have fire engines that can't go across the bridge. Say, okay, guys, you gotta wait an extra 2 to 3 years because we got a deal.
This, the golf course on the other side of the bridge, and there may be potential buyers which are going to make accommodations and everything, and upgrade. If that happens, I wouldn't want the bridge to be, well, it's not gonna be nothing like Fort Edward situation down there. But it is gonna have some sort of a economic impact on Whitehall. But the sooner we can get the bridge, if and when the property is sold, and it definitely would help the county and the town. Right now, it's not a good situation, and we tried New York Bridge last year.
Yeah, we put in for Bridge New York and it was denied.
So this has been a problem for how many years now? Sooner the better we can get it taken care of, is my point of view.
Something definitely has to be done about the Whitehall Bridge.
I actually agree it has to be done sooner or later, or sooner versus later, as soon as they can. 2 questions. Number 1, could we reapply for Bridge New York and see if we get that? Because I think that the best decision-making process in the tip.
The Bridge New York is the slowest program I've ever.
Okay.
They're trying to make changes as the County Highway Superintendent Association, so that it is doled out in a different way, so that it makes it easier. But you can definitely apply again to Bridge New York, and we will probably apply. It's very labor intensive to apply, and, we got nothing out of it, but Jack.
And I can tell you, David, we just went through the paperwork stuff, and they're saying probably not 23, 24 before they're done.
The tip isn't actually
The
quick
second
either.
part of the question, I said the 2 parts of the question, is that would having the Bailey Bridge, no matter what you plan to use for at this point, that benefit the county?
Not in the short term, because it would take long. We couldn't get it until your bridge was being
I'm not
constructed.
talking about Whitehall, but would it benefit the county no matter when he got it?
I believe it would.
So I'm trying to recap what Dana Hogan's trying to get at. If we wait until the taxes are paid, it doesn't preclude us from becoming a lead agency. It doesn't push things back, anything past since October 1st. Based on Dave's timetable, it doesn't change anything if we make the decision now to be a lead agency, or after they pay the taxes on lead agency. It doesn't change the bridge timetable at all. Can I come to a consensus?
That's kind of what I got.
So what's the problem going forward with Dana's motion then?
Nothing.
Because it doesn't change anything.
We're just still in discussion. Other than that, I don't
Okay,
think
I
there's
just wanted to
anything.
clarify.
No,
I'll make sure I missed something there.
kind of where I was.
Pretty clear.
But to have clarification of Dana's motion. His motion is that we kind of don't discuss this, basically is that we table this until the taxes are paid. But we aren't just the supervisors, it's the highway department, it's like we, the county. So, am I correct? So if we table this, it involves all the county entities, so that Dave and Deb won't keep going with this idea of all this trade and stuff. It's no discussion by anybody at the county until the taxes are paid. Am I right in that thinking?
Maybe we should clarify the motion.
Well, I think maybe at the board level, but I think all the other, there's a lot of things that have to happen before things ever get to the board. You can't just shut down all discussions between every town and
I
town.
think that's what you can do.
Well, you shouldn't, well, that kind of shuts down the whole system.
That's the point. Pay
Yeah, but
the
you
tax-
don't wanna shut down the whole
Just
system.
the carrot and stick, Brian, pay the taxes.
But isn't Dana, being a member of this committee, saying, you make a motion, Dana, clarify this for me, that we table or suspend discussions on this,
On this subject, yeah.
here in this committee about this topic until the taxes are paid? Can I simplify it that much, Dana? Are you okay with that, or is there something else?
I am comfortable with that, yes, and I think we should just move forward with the process under normal circumstances with Whitehall to get Whitehall taken care of and not wait for this nonsense to play out.
Right.
You want to clarify the motion? That's what it is.
Yeah, but-
That's specific.
I guess I was reading maybe something into different to Dana's. I think you still gotta have discussions with all towns and bridges and how they work. You can't just shut down those discussions because you don't want one bridge discussed. They've still gotta talk with them on everything.
This bridge, the owner of this bridge, deadbeat on taxes. They could go out and pay this next month. They went and got a commercial
No,
loan.
the owner of
They
the
just
bridge
don't
is the
want to
IDA.
pay. They don't want to pay it now.
No, the IDA is the owner of the bridge now.
That's the deadbeat.
What you
I
said?
tell you, we appoint all the members of the IDA, even the Warren County members, we appoint. They're supposed to do what we want, we appoint. And I think we
I
want
agree
you to
with that.
pay the taxes, Dave.
If we wanna pay the taxes,
If the tax is not paid by the next appointment of all the IDA members, I once again will vote no on all the IDA members, even the Warren County guys. I think everyone here should vote no. Why would we reappoint people that purposely are slowing down payment of their delinquent taxes? Well, get a loan, get a short-term loan. You say you've got a very valuable asset down there. Use that as the collateral for your loan. Go get a loan, pay your delinquent taxes, and then we're done with this whole discussion. Why are you resisting paying it? Because you don't want to use your own money. You want to use,
don't have, there's no money
CDI
there.
You want to do all this. You're trying to parlay everything with a million different strings. Pay your taxes. Simple.
Brian, you got hands up.
Hands up.
I got Cassie, is that the one you said?
Daryl.
Okay, I just want to. Go ahead, Cassie.
If Daryl's, let Daryl go first.
Oh, no, Cassie, I yield to you, please.
I was gonna ask, I was gonna, whatever it is that John LaPointe is, call the meeting, call the order, call whatever it is, so you stop talking about it and just vote. So you can go first.
I'm gonna echo that, Mr. Chairman. I'm prepared to vote on the motion. I believe that Mr. Hogan has on the table, which is that the Finance Committee suspend the discussion about the county taking lead agency until the tax issue is resolved. I know there's conversation and coordination that's going to occur outside the Finance Committee that needs to continue to occur so that we can develop the situation. There will be things that happen that will change the situation and perhaps change how people vote going forward. Thank you.
So you had what sounded an awful lot like a motion by Ms. Fedler to call the question, so.
That's the one I want.
Let's just, we skip that
We need
whole
to see if there's a
process.
second.
Daryl seconded, didn't he?
I was calling something.
It'll take us longer to do that.
So there's no discussion on a motion to call the question, we
Yeah.
proceed directly to a vote.
Vote, all in favor, say aye.
I'm calling the question.
I'm calling the question, we're voting to stop debate on the question and proceed to a vote on the question.
All in favor,
Aye.
say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Now, all in favor of Dana Hogan's motion, say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
Opposed? Very good, vote passed. We're done with that situation. Good.
Can I make one
Yeah.
comment?
Daryl, you're done. That
Am I allowed
violates
to
the
talk
vote.
or not? I
You're
just
allowed to
think
talk.
that, some credit should be given to Deb on this, because obviously when laws were quoted and whatever, she obviously, and I apologize because I couldn't make the DPW meeting, but it sounds like a lot of work and time and effort went through to appease another organization, and she should be recognized for putting in that effort, because those law books are thick. And AGFTC isn't always the easiest thing to work with, and it's a good source of money, and it puts a lot of work into handling all of that. So I thank Deb for putting in the work and the time, just not in support of it right now. So it's not a slam against you.
Very Very good. Is there anything else? Okay, other business. Is there anything more? Anybody else have anything? Nothing else, we stand adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
What, is there a finance meeting next?
Yes.
Yes,
Can we zoom into it? Is it a meeting? Is it your meeting? Is there agenda items or just a report?
It's, the whole year thing, it's the year recovery from Al, there will probably be some resolutions coming out of it, but,
Can I zoom into it?
yeah, 'cause we haven't adopted the law yet. Yeah,
Okay,
we're
so
still good.
But that's all it's gonna be, there's none other items.
There'll probably be resolutions that come out of some of the things he discusses,
Oh,
When is this?
next Thursday.
okay.
That way they can get to the full board.
But it's specifically about that report, and what's going on there?
Yes, it's specifically about fund balance, sales tax, all those things,
Okay, sorry about that, I'm sorry.
and maybe some capital plan stuff. Yeah.
Kathy's got her hand.
Kathy?
So that was scheduled an add-on and I'm already committed to something else I can't change, so I won't be here at all on the 19th. So if that affects anybody in the room, quorums and whatnot, I am completely unavailable on the 19th.
Must be, it's gonna be a sunny day.
I don't, probably because I have to be somewhere else, yes.
Okay, we're adjourned, thank you.